Inshallah, we're going to move on with the first slide of our lesson, inshallah. The first slide is the propagation to different tribes and persecution. So, as we know, the Prophet ﷺ has now just returned from the night journey, okay? And now, Islam, obviously, those Muslims that were there, obviously, they were very weak. So, the Prophet ﷺ, he used an opportunity of Hajj to give da'wah. What he would do is, at the time of Hajj, people would be coming from neighboring countries, okay, and he would use the opportunity to give da'wah, to preach and to teach about Islam. Now, what he would do is, he would also go to various fairs as well, like they would have festivals and stuff like that. He would go there, give da'wah by Islam, and come back. But there was a man who would walk behind him. Okay, a man would walk behind him, and every time the Prophet ﷺ spoke to someone about Islam and spoke to someone about Allah and about Tawheed and everything about Islam, a man would go behind him and he would tell the person, you know, this man who just spoke to you is a crazy man. Don't listen to him. Okay, and this man was none other than the Prophet ﷺ's own uncle Abu Lahab. He tried his utmost best to stop the Prophet ﷺ da'wah. He tried his very, very best. Okay, and we know Abu Lahab's sons, yeah, Abu Lahab's sons were married to the Prophet's daughters as well. So before the Prophet became a prophet, before he received prophethood and he received the Quran, his daughters were married to two sons of Abu Lahab. As soon as he became a prophet, Abu Lahab told his sons to leave our Prophet's daughters. And we know Abu Lahab is the only, yes, the only non-Muslim, the only non-believer in the Prophet's time to be mentioned explicitly in the Quran. A full surah is after him. How he was already given, yes, he was already given the news that you will be in the fire of Jahannam. You will be roasting in the fire of Jahannam. Now, what happened was Abu Lahab tried his utmost best to stop the da'wah, and the Prophet kept going on. So the Quraysh, what they did was they they turned the persecution level up. They started to harass the Muslims and they started to abuse the Prophet to a very high level. Okay, there was a story about where they were saying who would go and throw the intestines, the insides of a camel onto the Prophet. And one of them, his name was 𝗃𝗲 bin Abu Mu'ayt, he said, I will do it. He was that friend that would put his hand up to anything. And when the Prophet was doing sajda, he threw the camel intestines on the Prophet's back. So much, so heavy that the Prophet couldn't get back up from sajda. His daughter, Fatima radiallahu anha, had to come and take the camel intestines off. There was once as well, the Prophet was praying, and one of the disbelievers, he got a cloth and he started to strangle the Prophet. Okay, so the Prophet went through a lot. Okay, a lot of persecution. He went through a lot. That takes us to our next slide, inshallah. Now, we need to understand who was living in Medina. At that time, can anyone tell me what was Medina called? What was the city of Medina called at that time? Before the Prophet migrated to Medina, the city was known as, mashallah, Yathrib. The city was known as Yathrib. Does anyone know why is it called Madinatul Munawwara? What does the word Medina mean? The word Medina, does anyone know what it means? MashaAllah. Very good city, yes. Madinatul Munawwara is the city that became illuminated with light. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ entered the city. Medina is any city. Yeah? Munawwara, it comes from nur, light. Because the Prophet ﷺ is a source of light. Yes? He was the source of light for the Sahaba. The Sahaba were the most evilest of people. Okay, they were very evil people. They would kill their own people. They would kill their daughters. They would do everything. But he was the light. Okay, he's the one that showed them the true path. So the Prophet ﷺ, he is the one who basically gave Medina life. Yes, Medina was first known as Yathrib, then the name was changed to Madinatul Munawwara. So this we're talking before he migrated. Before he migrated, there were two tribes that were living in Medina. They were known as Aws and Khazraj. Aws and Khazraj, a quick history, brief history about them. They came from Yemen, yeah, and they started to reside in Yathrib. With them, there were Jews that were living with them. Now let's understand. Now, these Jews, why did the Jews pick Medina? We have to understand why these Jews settled in Medina. The Jews, in their scripture, in their script, in their book, okay, the Torah, there was a description of the last prophet coming to a certain city that had palm trees and a few other things. So they were looking everywhere, okay, until they found Medina, a city that has so many palm trees, and they resided there. And they thought a prophet would come, yes, from their own people, from their tribe. A prophet would come from amongst them. So they told, and they would always fight with the Aws and Khazraj as well, and the Aws and Khazraj would fight amongst themselves as well. And they told the Aws and Khazraj that when the Prophet is born amongst us, we will tell the Prophet to curse you. We will tell the Prophet to tell the God to deal with you. So the Aws and Khazraj, they grew up and they heard about this Prophet coming to Medina and all this stuff. They've been hearing it for years. Now, what happened once was the Prophet ﷺ once he met 6 men from the tribe of Khazraj. He met 6 men from the tribe of Khazraj, and he explained to them who he was, and he gave them da'wah of Islam, and they accepted Islam very quick. Why? Because they have heard all these signs of the Prophet. He would be like this, he would look like this, he would say this, his name would be this, and everything from the Jews, and they accepted Islam. A point I missed was, who are the Ansar? We're going to be learning about the Ansar anyway later on when we learn about the story of migration. But the Aws and Khazraj, yes, they later on became the Ansar, the helpers, those who helped the Muslims, those who helped the Muhajirun, those who migrated from Mecca to Medina. Ansar are those who welcomed them in, the brothers and sisters who welcomed those from Mecca. Okay, the Ansar are from the Aws and Khazraj. Okay, remember that. So Aws and Khazraj are 2 tribes that came from Yemen and resided in Medina. They learned about the Prophet so much from the Jews, and later on 6 men from Khazraj, they met the Prophet and they accepted Islam straight away. Okay, straightforward. Anyone has any questions so far? Or can we move on to the next slide? I'm going quickly over this slide because our remaining slides, there will be a lot of information given. Okay, we'll move on, inshallah. Now that brings us to 𝗵 Aqabah al-Ula. Okay, the first bay'ah, the first pledge. Okay, now remember I said in the last slide that the 6 men from Khazraj, they came, yes, they accepted Islam, and the Prophet told them to go back to Medina, and they told the Prophet not to come Medina yet, and the Prophet advised them, go and preach and go and tell the people about Islam. Now 1 year later, these people returned. 1 year later, these people returned, and there were 12 people who came to Medina to do bay'ah, yeah, to pledge. They came to Medina to pledge with the Prophet ﷺ. And there was certain conditions that they had to abide by. So the Prophet said that you have to stay away from stealing. Yes, you can't be killing your children. Yes, you have to believe in Allah. And there were certain conditions. And then they pledged their allegiance with the Prophet ﷺ. And they requested the Prophet ﷺ if the Prophet could give them someone who was educated, someone who could educate the people of Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ sent Mus'ab bin Umair and Abdullah ibn Maktoum. I will briefly talk about Mus'ab bin Umair and Abdullah ibn Maktoum. Mus'ab bin Umair was one of the richest people of Mecca. So rich, okay? They say that when he would pass by a place, yes, you would know a few hours later that Mus'ab bin Umair has passed by this place due to the fragrance. He would wear very rich fragrance. He was very, very rich. But when he became a Muslim, his mom, his family, they pushed him out. They kicked him out, and he had not even a penny to his name. So much that when he passed away, they never had enough cloth. They never had enough clothing to cover his full body. He sacrificed everything for Islam. The next person, Abdullah ibn Maktoum, has been mentioned in the Quran as well. The surah begins talking about him. Does anyone know which surah? This was a blind Sahabi. A blind Sahabi, his name was Abdullah, the son of Maktoum. His mother was given this name because he was born blind. Okay, a surah talks about him. Anyone know this surah? You all must have read the surah. 𝗵esse وتولى جاءه الأعمى. Yes. Yes, 𝗵esse وتولى speaks about Abdullah ibn Maktoum. He was a blind Sahabi, and one day the Prophet was speaking to the leaders of Quraysh, like Abu Jahl, okay, and Umayyah ibn Khalaf, and He was speaking to them, and Abdullah ibn Maktoum, because he was blind, he couldn't see, he walked up to the Prophet ﷺ, not knowing that the Prophet is occupied. The Prophet had intention to answer to Abdullah, but Abdullah was asking, O Prophet of Allah, could you give me some teaching? Could you give me an ayah? Could you say something? Could you teach me something? The Prophet thought, I will answer to him in a bit. Let me first preach to these rulers and leaders of the Quraysh. Hopefully they can become Muslim. And what the person did was, he just turned away, and because of that, Allah sent a few verses to teach him that you should have given Abdullah attention instead of those people. So Mus'ab bin Umair and Abdullah ibn Maktoum, they went to Medina. They went to Medina and they spread Islam, and Islam spread like wildfire. Islam was spreading from house to house. Most of the houses in Medina at that time, yes, most of the houses in Medina at that time, they had many Muslims. Okay, so Islam was spreading a lot, very, very fast. Now, the next year, the following year, a group, a larger group came this time to pledge their allegiance. This time, there was about 75 people. Okay, some say 73, that's why I wrote 70 plus. Some say 75, there were 73 men and 2 women that they came and they pledged their allegiance at the hands of the Prophet ﷺ. Yes, there were some terms and conditions. Okay, and like the Prophet said, you can't, the Arabs would have this mindset that if you have a daughter, you should just throw them off the cliff because they're useless. Yes, there would be many other sins. They would drink. They would take the rights of orphans. They would take the rights of the neighbors. Yes, there would be many sins. Okay, adultery and so many sins. The Prophet said you can't do this. Okay, they were all polytheists. They would worship idols. The Prophet said you have to only worship Allah. You have to become a monotheist. Okay, and at that time, what happened was, when they gave this treaty, when they gave this pledge to the Prophet, at that time they said, you can come to Medina, inshallah. It's safe for you to come to Medina now. But the Prophet, he didn't go as of yet, but at that time his uncle Abbas was with him. Okay, at that time Abbas wasn't a Muslim, but Abbas said, okay, that, O people of Aws and Khazraj, if you want the Prophet to come and reside with you, that's fine. But the conditions are, you have to support him all the way. Yes, you have to support him until your last breath. Then only will we accept your request. Because even though Abbas and Abu Talib and his uncles were not Muslims, they protected him throughout. They didn't let anyone harm him or anything. So Abbas was saying, if you want to take our nephew to Medina, that's fine, but the condition is you have to look after him, just like how we've looked after him. Okay, so these 70 plus people, they came and they took the they pledged allegiance with the Prophet ﷺ. Now that brings us to the slide that why was Medina chosen? Okay, why wasn't it any other city? Why was it Medina? The Prophet had a dream. Okay, he had a dream that he saw date palm trees, and Medina, if you've been Medina, you've seen that there's lots of dates in Medina. Medina is a city full of dates. Yes, Medina, and that in his dream it was like an indication that go to Medina. The next point is the Ansaar, the people that were living in Medina. They have excellent characteristics. Amazing. For those who've been Medina, you will know that the people of Makkah, because their forefathers are the Quraysh, even though they're really good people, I'm not talking about the scholars of Makkah, but the general people of Makkah, they're a bit big-headed and stuff like that. But the people of Medina, because their forefathers are the Ansar, they're really giving, really giving. Once you do go to Medina, inshallah, everyone gets a chance to visit Medina and Makkah frequently. When you go, you will see how giving these people are. So giving. I remember about 2 years ago, I went in Ramadan, and honestly speaking, at iftar time, the shopkeepers, they will pull you into the shops and they will just put so much food into your pockets, into your bags, that you don't have to even go to your hotel to eat iftar, because they have filled your pockets and your bags up with food. Okay, it's amazing how giving these people are. They would even those that are poor, they literally have nothing on the plate for iftar. They are ready to give half the iftar to you, or more than half the iftar to you. How amazing these people of Ansar are. And they welcome the Prophet. We're going to learn a bit more about them. They welcome the Prophet and the people of Makkah in, and they gave everything to them. Medina is also blessed with barriers. Okay, does anyone know why is it good to have barriers? Okay, in and around your city. Anyone? Why do you think this was a very important factor? Can anyone guess? MashaAllah. So they don't get attacked. Protection, very good. Yes. You will learn, inshallah, in the Battle of Khaybar, in the Battle of the Trench. You'll understand why these barriers help the people in Medina a lot. If you have so many palm trees, how do you expect your camels, how do you expect horses to get through there? Because there's palm trees everywhere. Okay, so having barriers is a protection against the enemies. Okay, and there's many, many virtues of Medina. Rewards are multiplied. Okay, rewards are multiplied in Medina. Praying Salah inside the Masjid of Medina, your reward, your Salah is multiplied by a lot. The Prophet also said, a person who prays 40 Salahs in a row in Medina, a person who prays 40 Salahs in one go, yes, then this person will be freed from the fire of Jahannam, and he will be freed from hypocrisy. Inshallah, Allah gives us the chance to do that. Also, another virtue, there's many, many virtues. We don't have time to go into all the virtues. Another virtue is that before the day of judgment, the Dajjal won't be able to enter Medina. Okay, the Dajjal won't be able to enter Medina. He won't also be able to enter Makkah as well. So inshallah, we'll move on to our next slide. Now, who are the Ansar? Okay, some blessings of the Ansar, some hadith, inshallah. The Prophet said the sign of faith, okay, the sign of faith is love of the Ansar, and the sign of hypocrisy is the hatred of the Ansar. Ansar are those people, okay, when the Muhajirun, yes, those people who migrated from Mecca to Medina, okay, the Ansar will welcome them in, gave them jobs, gave them money, gave them everything, welcome, and made them basically feel like it's home. Okay, once an Ansari woman accompanied by a son of hers came to Allah's Messenger ﷺ. Allah's Messenger ﷺ spoke to her and said twice, by him in whose hand my life is, you are the most beloved people to me. Okay, he said, you are the most beloved people to me. The next hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said to the Ansar, after me you will see others given preference to you. So be patient till you meet me, and your promised place of meeting will be the Hawd. We all know what the Hawd is. The Hawd is the Hawd of Kawthar, the fountain of Kawthar. On the Day of Judgment, when it's scorching hot, okay, the floor will be made of copper. The sun will just be above our heads. People will be sweating in according to their sin levels. Okay, there will be a fountain there, a fountain, okay, called the fountain of Kawthar. There will be so many cups there, more than the stars in the sky. And the Prophet would give water, okay, from the fountain of Kawthar to those who have followed him in their life. Okay, those who made the Prophet their role model and they followed his sunnah. Some people will be turned away. Allah will say, oh Muhammad, turn him away or turn her away. In this life, they didn't give any significance to they didn't follow any of your sunnahs. And if you drink this water, it will quench your thirst for your full lifetime. Okay, it's sweeter than honey and it's whiter than milk. And many, many stories about Ansar that can be said. Okay, these Ansar, they literally gave everything for the Prophet ﷺ. And we know about the Sahaba. Can anyone tell me who is a Sahabi? Sahabi is the singular of Sahaba. Who is a Sahabi? What makes a person a Sahabi? Why can't we be a Sahabi? What makes a person a Sahabi? Does anyone know? What makes a person a Sahabi? Sahabi is the singular version of Sahaba. Sahaba is the plural. MashaAllah, yes. Very good. Those who have seen the Prophet ﷺ and they died as a Muslim, yes, MashaAllah. Yes, Sahabi is a person who saw the Prophet ﷺ, and they died as a Muslim. From the Sahaba, from the Sahaba, from the companions of the Prophet, anyone know which category is the highest in rank? From the many Sahaba, which category is the highest in rank? Around the chat option, inshallah. From all the Sahaba, which group of Sahaba are the highest of rank? Yes, mashallah, it is. Yes, very good. It is the four Khalifas, mashallah. The four Khalifas, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali. They are the highest of rank, mashallah. The second one, after Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali, who is next in rank? Which group? MashaAllah, those who are promised Jannah, MashaAllah, very good. Very good. Those who are promised Jannah. So remember that there's 10 people guaranteed Jannah. Okay, the Ashara Mubashara. There were many people guaranteed Jannah. Okay, but these 10 people that were guaranteed Jannah, yes, they were guaranteed Jannah in one sitting. The Prophet said all these names. Okay, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas, Talha bin Ubaidillah. Okay, all these names, Zubair ibn Awam, all these names were given in one sitting. And the third, what's the third rank? MashaAllah, the fighters of Battle of Badr. Okay, the fighters of Battle of Badr. Now, amongst these ranks, Ansar are there as well. The Ansar, they came after the Muhajirun. They are amongst the high status of the Sahaba. From the Sahaba, they are amongst the first 7. Okay, so they hold a very high importance in Islam. We should know about them. We should try to learn about them. Okay, literally they gave everything up. So when the Muhajirun came, the people migrated to Mecca, the Ansar were willing to give half the business away, to give the animals away, to give half the house away, to give the houses away, to give the money, to give everything away, just so that the people of Mecca will feel welcomed. We move on to our next slide, inshallah. Now, the Prophet gave permission. Yes, you know, when the big group of those from Yathrib came, the Prophet gave permission, and he granted permission to the Sahaba to migrate. Now, we'll say a few stories, inshallah. The first story is about Abu Salama and Salama. Abu Salama and Salama. Abu Salama was the father of Salama. Abu means father and means mother. They both had a child called Salama. Okay. Now, Abu Salama was a cousin of the Prophet ﷺ as well. And Salama was, after Abu Salama passed away, she married the Prophet ﷺ. So later on, she became one of the wives of our Prophet ﷺ. Now, when they were migrating, they've set forth. Okay, they've just started the journey. Salama, the wife, her family came and said to Abu Salama that you can migrate, but you can't take Salama, you can't take her. She's our daughter, she's from our tribe, you can't take her, and you can't take the child, you can't take Salama. So Abu Salama, he said, okay, that's fine, I'll go. He went himself all the way to Medina himself. And they just didn't do that. They separated the mother from the child for 1 full year. 1 full year, the father was alone in Medina. The mother was alone in Mecca in one tribe. The baby was alone in Mecca in a different tribe. They never got to see each other for 1 full year. Salama would cry so much. Yes, morning till night she would cry. She would go to the outskirts of Mecca from the morning and cry all the way till the night. Okay, imagine that. How can you take a child away from the mother? Okay, no support, no one. She hasn't got a husband. Husband missing his wife. He's missing the child. They done that. After 1 year, one of her cousins felt really pity for her, and he said, "We shouldn't do this. How long are we going to watch her? How long are we going to watch our daughter like this?" So they gave the baby back, and they said, "Okay, you can go to Medina now yourself." Okay, they didn't even offer a lift to Medina. She had to start walking in the desert in the scorching heat by herself with Salama. By herself, imagine that. We all know how far, what's the distance between Mecca and Medina. It would take you 5-6 hours by car. Yes, imagine walking it. She had no form of transportation. She never had a camel. Luckily, Allah helped. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of helpers. He sent a non-Muslim by the name of Uthman bin Talha. He wasn't a Muslim at that time. Yes, he helped her. Yes, he helped her, and he didn't even come next to the camel. He put her on his camel, and he took her all the way to her husband uh, next to Medina. And later on, Uthman bin Talha also became a Muslim as well. The story of Suhaib. Suhaib was his name is Suhaib bin Sinan, also known as Suhaib al-Rumi, Suhaib the Roman. He wasn't a Roman, okay? He was an Arab, but when he was young, yes, the Romans, they kidnapped him and they took him to, and they kept him and everything, and he learned Greek and everything there, and he returned back. Now listen to this story, and it brings tears to the eyes. He was migrating. When he came to Mecca, he was poor. Yes. Now, obviously, he made some money, so he's migrating with his wealth. And the Quraysh stopped him and said, Suhaib, you're migrating, but you can't take nothing with you. You came Mecca poor, so you have to leave poor as well. And Suhaib gave every penny away. He even told them that I have this much treasure there, lying there under this ground and everything. He gave everything away. Imagine that. Anyway, you can't. If we ever have to leave our hometown and go somewhere else, we can take our baggage with us. We've got a car, we've got vans. They never had nothing. Okay, they never had nothing, no form of transportation, nothing to. How much can you put on a camel? Okay, and most of them never had a camel. Suhaib gave everything away. When he went to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said he was very shocked and very happy with Suhaib, and he said the transaction was profitable, Suhaib. You gave all your money away for Islam. You gave all your money away so you can get peace in Medina. And that was enough for Suhaib. So he can go and meet his brothers in Medina. It doesn't matter about how much money he lost. That brings us to the story of Umar ibn Khattab. Umar ibn Khattab, as we know, he was a very brave person. He didn't want to leave Makkah like normally. He wanted to live in style. Yeah. So he went knocking on the doors of the Quraysh, and he said to the Quraysh that, listen, if you want to challenge me, if you want to stop me from going to Medina, come fight me now. I've got my sword ready. But I'm just telling you, I'm warning you that if you do come, then you're going to leave your wives as widows, meaning I'm going to finish you off, and your wife and your children have to live without a father, without a husband. He waited for a few days. No one came to challenge him. And he and his family, they migrated to Medina. Who was left in Makkah at that time? Prophet ﷺ was there. Abu Bakr and his family were there. His son, his daughter, his slave. Ali radiallahu anhu was there, and some helpless people. Some people who never had the means to migrate. Some people who were slaves of the Quraysh. They couldn't migrate. Allah has spoken about them in the Quran. Okay, and Allah has forgiven them that they couldn't leave and go to Medina. Now, can anyone tell me why do you think the Prophet ﷺ didn't migrate yet? Why didn't he leave Mecca yet? What was he waiting for? Anyone? MashaAllah, Allah's permission. Very good, Allah's permission. Yes, Allah's command. Why? Which prophet he left without Allah's command and Allah wasn't happy? Yes, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. Remember Prophet Yunus alayhi salam? He left without Allah's command. Allah wasn't happy, so he was swallowed by the whale. Yes. Now the Prophet ﷺ, he was waiting for Allah's command, and Abu Bakr asked him. Okay, Abu Bakr asked him, "O Prophet of Allah, okay, when we leave, yes, would you have a companion with you?" And but the Prophet said, "Yes, Abu Bakr, you will be my companion." So Abu Bakr, he prepared 2 camels. Okay, 2 camels, 1 camel for himself and 1 camel for our Prophet ﷺ. And they waited until the permission was given to migrate. We'll move on, inshallah, to the next slide. Now the Quraysh had seen that everyone's leaving. Okay, all the Muslims are leaving. Now what do? They saw that their power. Yes, what do they do now? So they held a meeting. They held a big meeting where all the leaders came. It took place in a place called Darun Nadwa, and they had different There was a man there present, an old man, and no one recognized him. And they said, "Who are you?" And the man said, I'm a old man from this and this." But it was actually Iblis. You know Iblis? Iblis was present in this meeting. Why? Iblis wanted to give them a plan to kill the Prophet ﷺ. So there were a few of them that said, "We should do this, we should find him, we should hold him as a captive, we should imprison him," and stuff like that. Abu Jahl said, "Okay." And every time they said a suggestion, the old man said, "No, no, that won't work. Okay, no, this won't work. No, that would definitely not work." When Abu Jahl said, "Let's kill the Prophet Islam," yes, that's when the old man, Iblis, okay, who came in the shape of an old man, said, "Yes, that's a good idea. But we're not going to just kill him, because if you just kill the Prophet, then his family would come for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a man from every tribe that will attack the Prophet ﷺ at the same time, na'udhu billah. And when he dies, when he is killed, the family of the Prophet, they can't do anything now because they don't know who exactly killed him. There's too many tribes that were involved in this murder. And what does Allah say? Allah says, when the disbelievers conspire to capture, kill, or exile you, they plan, but Allah also planned. And Allah is the best of planners. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. That we plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. We plan to do something tomorrow. We plan to do this in the future. We plan to do this next month. We have life ambitions. Yes, we have New Year's resolutions, but Allah plans differently. Okay, and Allah plans for the best. Okay, Allah knows what we need in life. Okay, so leave everything make dua, but leave everything in the hands of Allah. So this is the plan they made, that we're going to kill the Prophet and do this and do that. Now what happened was, the Prophet and Abu Bakr, they were given, okay, they were given the permission to migrate. Allah has given the permission to migrate. So the Prophet and Abu Bakr, they're getting ready. Now the first point I wrote here is Surah Yasin. Why? In Surah Yasin, a verse came, وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. Allah says that they came, yes, they came and they were outside the Prophet's house. Okay, and let's understand what happened before they came to the Prophet's house. Allah already informed the Prophet that these Quraysh are making this plan to kill you. So what the Prophet done was, he told Ali, "Oh Ali, come here. Ali, I want you to stay here for a few more days." Why? Because the people of Makkah, even though they didn't like the Prophet, they would keep the money, the treasures with the Prophet. There was no bank system before. Yeah, there was no bank system before, and everyone knew that the Prophet was a Sadiq, al-Amin, he's trustworthy, he would never steal money, so he was like a bank. People would leave the money with him. And the Prophet didn't want to leave with that, he wanted to give everyone the treasure, the money back. So he told Ali, "Oh Ali, that's one task for you. When I migrate, I want you to give everyone the money back and everything. And another thing I want you to do is, I want you to sleep in my bed. I want you to stay overnight in my bed." Okay, and Ali radiallahu anhu, he said, "You know what, amazingly, that he said, this night of mine, I had the best sleep, because I knew I'm going to live till the next morning. But every other night, I don't know I'm going to live till the next morning, but this time I knew I'm going to live till the next morning. Because why? The Prophet assigned me to do some tasks the next day." Because, and imagine that, he should be scared, because if they come in and they go for an attack, they're going to kill Ali. He said, I wasn't fearful at all. Now, what the Prophet done was, the Prophet, he recited the verses, and some scholars say he blew sand on them and they became blind. Other scholars say that they went to sleep and the Prophet got some sand and he left it on their head, okay, just to humiliate them, okay. And then when they came into the senses, and they came into the once they woke up, they came into the senses, okay, they went into the house to check and they found Ali there. Yes, they found Ali there, and they were very, very angry. They were very, very angry. And the Prophet, he already went to Abu Bakr's house. Him and Abu Bakr, yes, they made the way. They started the migration. They left the house and everything, and they were on the way until they reached a place where they camped for 3 days, which was the cave of Thawr. Now the Quraysh became really angry, and Abu Jahl, he confronted Asma. Asma was the daughter of Abu Bakr. Okay, they confronted Asma and he slapped Asma as well. He slapped Asma and said that, where is your father? Asma said, I don't know. Where is the Prophet? Asma said, I don't know, and he slapped her. She was pregnant at that time. Okay, she was just about to have a child, and he smacked her really hard. He slapped her really hard. And what they done was, he said, anyone who finds the Prophet ﷺ now, anyone who can kill and capture the Prophet ﷺ now, we will give you 100 camels. We might think 100 camels is nothing. It's like someone saying, if you do this, I would give you 100 Lamborghinis. At that time, the best form of transport was a camel. Okay, the way Allah has designed a camel is amazing. It comes in the Quran. أَفَلَا يَنظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Have you seen how Allah has created the camel? It has long eyelashes. Why? Because they're always walking in the desert. So the eyes the dust doesn't affect the vision. They can store so much water in the, like up to something like 20 liters of water. So when they do get thirsty whilst walking on the desert, they basically can drink that water. Okay. I read somewhere as well that they can store food and they can bring it up and they can eat that food as well. Okay, any food they take, they can chew on it later. Okay, their feet they're flat-footed as well. So when they're walking on the desert, it doesn't affect the shins or anything. They have no pain. So imagine that. So there were so many bounty hunters. Yes, they were like, okay, that's it's a good prize, 100 camels. Let's go find the Prophet ﷺ and let's go kill him. Okay, a lot of people were ready to kill the Prophet ﷺ. Any questions still there before we move on to our next slide? Anyone has any questions, you can write in the chat option. If not, inshallah, we can move on. That's fine, inshallah. Let's move on. Okay, now in the cave, on the way to the cave, the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr, they were walking. And the Prophet ﷺ told this other man that he was a navigator. He told him 3 days later, meet us in the cave of Thawr. Okay, 3 days later, come and meet us. You have to help us navigate and you have to help us take a different path to Medina. But come 3 days later, don't come now. Now, on the way to the cave, Abu Bakr kept going in front of the Prophet ﷺ, to his left, to his right, and behind the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Okay, he wanted to protect the Prophet ﷺ from every angle. He said, "O Prophet of Allah, the reason I'm doing this is if the enemy comes, I'm going to jump onto them and I would let them kill me. So that will buy you some time to run away." Okay, and some say that he also carried the Prophet ﷺ on his back. Why? Because he said, "O Prophet of Allah, if they see 2 footprints, they might think it's us. If I carry you, they just see 1 footprint." Okay. Now, how did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help when they entered this cave? Before they entered this cave, Abu Bakr, he took his shirt off and he filled all the holes up in the cave. So the people can't see through these caves and nothing can enter through this cave. There was only 1 hole remaining. When they entered the cave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he helped by, he ordered a spider. Okay, there's a full surah about the spider. Okay, Surah Ankabut. He ordered a spider to make a spider web on the mouth of the cave, and a pigeon to make a nest and lay some eggs. So when the Prophet and Abu Bakr went inside, the Prophet was slightly tired. He was resting on the lap of Abu Bakr, and there was 1 more hole left. Okay, and there wasn't enough clothing left. So Abu Bakr, he left his foot there just to cover all the holes up. And a snake came and bit his foot. He was in so much pain, but he didn't want to disturb the person's sleep. Okay, his level of respect was so high, but obviously the pain he overcame. Okay, and his tears started rolling down his cheeks, and he fell on the blessed face of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet woke up and said, "Abu Bakr, what's wrong?" And the Prophet he applied some of his saliva on the bite of the snake, and his foot healed. Now the Quraysh came right to the mouth of the cave. Abu Jahl, yes, he came to the mouth of the cave so much that Abu Bakr from inside the cave could see Abu Jahl's face. And Abu Bakr was getting scared, not because he's gonna die, he's getting scared for the Prophet. Then Allah revealed, okay, إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ لَا تَحْزَنْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَنَا. He said, when Muhammad said to his companion, "Do not worry, Allah is with us." Now, who is Abu Bakr? He is the only companion in the Quran that Allah has said he is a companion. Why? Allah says, إِذْ يَقُولُ لِصَاحِبِهِ. Like when Muhammad said to his companion, okay, that do not worry. لا تحزن إن الله معنا, that Allah is with us, Allah will help us. Now Abu Bakr done so much. The Prophet said that he's repaid everyone for their favors. The only person he hasn't repaid is Abu Bakr, and Allah will repay him back. What does Umar radiallahu anhu say? Umar radiallahu anhu says that my entire life, in comparison to one day Abu Bakr spent in the cave with the Prophet, is nothing. Abu Bakr is miles away from all the other Sahaba. He gave everything. No one could challenge him. Okay, he was the one that was given the title of As-Siddiq. We learned last lesson. Why? He believed the Prophet in everything. He was with the Prophet from the very beginning. Umar radiallahu anhu came later on. Uthman came later on. Ali came later. Abu Bakr was with him throughout his life, supported him throughout his life, and so much for him, so much sacrifice. Later on, the Prophet also married the daughter of Abu Bakr. We've learned that. Aisha, the famous Aisha radiallahu anha. So much, inshallah. We do plan, after we finish our Seerah course in the next month, inshallah, we do plan to speak about the 4 Khalifas. Basically, we speak about all the 10 promised Jannah, the Ashara al-Mubashara, inshallah. And in there, we'll speak more about Abu Bakr, who is Abu Bakr, and about his life, inshallah. Now, like I said before, Abu Bakr's family was still in Mecca. How did they help? Let's find out, inshallah. This is our last slide, inshallah. Now, Abu Bakr's household, they supported the Prophet and Abu Bakr as well. And how did they support? The first person, Abdullah ibn Abu Bakr, okay, his role was he would find out what the Quraysh are speaking about, and he would come at night and he would give the news to his father, and he would give the news to the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so he was like the spy, he was like the messenger. He would go find out the news and he would come and tell them that they're planning this, they're planning to do this and everything. The second one was Asma bint Abu Bakr. Okay, she was a daughter, and I said she was heavily pregnant. But even after being heavily pregnant, what would she do? She done so much. Okay, she would get food ready and everything, and the person was really happy that she was given a title as well. Okay, a heavily pregnant woman who went up the cave, the mountain, just to give her father and the Prophet food. The third person, Amir bin 𝗵◍, he was the shepherd and the slave of Abu Bakr. Some say that when Abu Bakr and the Prophet they walked and the footprints was visible, he got the sheep and he made them walk over and trod over the steps, so it doesn't look like human footprints. Also, every night he would come, he would graze the sheep and he would give milk to the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr as well. And the last person was Abdullah bin Ariqat. Okay, Abdullah bin Ariqat, there's been a typo there. Abdullah bin Ariqat was the navigator. Okay, now we have tom-toms. Yeah, you know, when you're lost, when you're driving, there's a tom-tom. Or if you don't have a car, when you're lost, you have Google Maps. Yeah, that will tell you the way. But imagine at that time, there was no technology. Okay, and when you go to a desert, how do you know which way is north, east, south, or west? You don't know, because everything looks the same. There were some people who were professional at doing that. Okay, they knew the desert, they knew basically the full Saudi Arabia inside out. Even though they're in a random place, they can take you to your destination. And one of them was Abdullah bin Ariqat. Now, like the person said, after 3 days, come and meet us. He did come after 3 days, and he met the Prophet and Abu Bakr, and they were on the way, okay, to Medina. Now, the Prophet and Abu Bakr told Abdullah ibn Ariqat that let's take a different route. Let's not take the common route, the route that everyone uses. We have to take a different route so we don't get caught, even if it takes us long. Now, on the way there, yes, there was a bounty hunter, Suraqa bin Maalik. Okay, a very famous man. He was a Bedouin. Now, he heard that there's a bounty on the Prophet's head. Anyone who can bring the head of the Prophet, you will be given 100 camels. And news came around that he's very close. The Prophet and Abu Bakr were close. So he had to distract the other people. The other people that were sitting in the gathering, he told them, do this, do that, okay? And he sneaked away. He got his horse or he got his camel, whatever, and he was on the way to go and get the Prophet. And he was very close. He was within a few steps away from the Prophet ﷺ to catch them. He had the intention to capture them. Allah knows if he wanted to kill them or capture them and take them to Abu Jahl and the leaders of the Quraysh. Abu Bakr was getting very scared. And what did the Prophet ﷺ do? He started making a dua. And what happened? Some scholars say that the animal that Suraqa was riding on, whether it was a horse or camel, it slipped. Okay, some scholars say that its feet, okay, it sunk into the ground, and Suraqa got up, and he remembered 100 camels. I want that. He got up on his animal and went for the second try. Same thing happened again. Okay, someday his animal just flipped over and it fell. Someday his foot sunk, and it happened 3 times like that until he said to the Prophet, "O Prophet, oh Muhammad, look, I've come for peace now." Okay, and he asked the Prophet for a peace letter. That later on, when Islam does go to all corners of the world, Suraqa will be freed. Suraqa will be of peace. Okay, peace and harmony. And the Prophet said, "O Suraqa, soon you will get the bracelets of Kisra." Kisra was the king of Persia. And he said, "Suraqa, very soon you will get the bracelets of Kisra." Kisra was a king of Persia, the emperor of Persia, who had lots and lots of jewelry. Okay. Now it was true. Later on, Suraqa, at the time of after the Prophet passed away, at the time of Umar, I believe, at the time of Umar, when Umar was the Khalifa, they took over Persia, and when they got the jewelry and everything, the bracelets of Kisra was given to Suraqa. He was made to wear the bracelets of Kisra. And that brings us to our last point of the day about a person called Ma'bad. So whilst they were traveling to Medina, they were very hungry, and they came by a house called a house where there was a woman living there, Ma'bad, and at that time her husband wasn't present. So Ma'bad, she said, "Look, I would be really willing. I would be more than happy to give you food and everything, but my sheep is not giving milk or anything." And the Prophet made dua. He went to the sheep, and the sheep's others started giving a lot of milk. Okay, they ate to the fill, and she is amongst one of those who described the Prophet physically. You know how we spoke about how the Prophet looked. Okay, he had long hair, how his belly wasn't protruding, how his chest and his belly was in line, how he had fine hair on his chest and everything. She was amongst the few who described the Prophet in detail, physically. Okay, you know, in the hadith where he talks about the Prophet in detail, Ma'bad was one of those who gave lots of description about the Prophet's physical appearance, how his hair was, how his face was, how his arms were, how his body was, how he looked, how he was so beautiful, more beautiful than the moon. Okay, we learned that in our first 4 lessons of this of Seerah. And later on, her husband came and she explained that to her husband and everything, and he also accepted. Both of them, they accepted Islam. Okay, there's many more stories about what happened through there. And the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr, they went to the masjid of Quba. Okay, and that's where the first masjid was built. And that brings us an end to today's lesson, inshallah. Just a quick recap of what happened in today's lesson. Then I'll take some questions, inshallah. So we started off with the Prophet, the propagation to different tribes and persecution. The Prophet would give lots of da'wah in the days of Hajj, because a lot of people would come. Abu Lahab tried his utmost best to stop da'wah, persecution of the Prophet, how they threw camel intestines and they tried to strangle the Prophet just for preaching Islam. We spoke about Aws and Khazraj. There were 2 tribes that came from Yemen. Yeah, and they resided in Mecca. They resided in Yathrib at that time. Yathrib later on became Madinah al-Munawwara, because the city became illuminated with the light of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who are the Ansar? The Ansar were the people of Aws and Khazraj, those who helped the Prophet and the Muhajirun. And 6 men from the Khazraj, they accepted Islam. The following year, 12 men came and they pledged their allegiance, and the Prophet sent Musa bin Umair and Abdullah bin Maktum Kulthum to go and teach the people, and Islam spread through Medina until it reached almost every household. The 13th year of prophethood, when the Prophet was 53 years old, the second pledge took place. So about 73 men and two women came, and they pledged their allegiance. Okay, and there were certain terms that they had to abide by, and they did abide by these terms. And why we also learned why was Medina chosen. Okay, the first point was the Prophet had a dream of date palm trees. The Ansar, they were excellent people. Okay, they had excellent characteristics, the manners and everything. They were very giving, generous. Medina was blessed with barriers, so enemies couldn't attack from most of the sides. Okay, you will learn, inshallah, in the battle of the trench, in the battle of the Khandaq. Okay, the battle of the ditch. We'll learn more about it, inshallah. The virtues of Medina. Okay, that the rewards are multiplied in Medina, the blessings in Medina, that the Dajjal cannot enter Medina. We spoke about that as well. Who are the Ansar? Why the Ansar are so beloved? Okay, we learn about who a Sahabi is. The Sahabi is a person who saw the Prophet and died as a Muslim, and we learn about the ranks. That the first rank is the four Khulafa, the four caliphs. Abu Bakr at first. Okay, then Umar. Both of them were buried next to the Prophet. Then Uthman. Why Uthman? The Prophet gave two of his daughters away, and he said, if I had another daughter, I would have given her to Uthman. He was given the title of Dhun Nurayn, the possessor of two lights, because he married two of the daughters of the Prophet. And then lastly was Ali, who was also married to the daughter Fatima of the Prophet, and a cousin brother who lived in the house of the Prophet, in the Prophet's company throughout his youth and practically all his life. The next one was we learn about the permission being granted for the people. We learn about Abu Salam and Salama, how they were separated from each other and the child Salama as well. The story of Suhaib, how he gave everything away just so he could go in peace into Medina. Umar bin Khattab, how he wanted to fight with the people if they wanted to challenge him. And we learned that Abu Bakr, the Prophet and Ali were the only ones that remained, and Abu Bakr was given the privilege to accompany the Prophet inside the cave. Quraysh held a meeting in Darul Nadwa, and Shaitan gave them different ideas of what to do, and they all wanted to kill the Prophet, and they appointed a person, a youth or a man from every tribe, so no one gets the full blame. And then we learn about Surah Yasin, where the Prophet, he blew dust on them and they all went to sleep. Some say they became blind, and then they went into the house to find out that it was Ali in the house, and they got humiliated. They were tricked. Okay, they saw that, they felt that there was sand on the head. Okay, and Ali was also given the task to give the people's money, the treasures, and everything back. And the Quraysh, they got really angry, and they put a bounty on the Prophet's head. Whoever killed the Prophet would get 100 camels, something like 100 Lamborghinis or Ferraris in our day and time. Then the Prophet and Abu Bakr, they went to the cave Thawr. Abu Bakr made many sacrifices. The Prophet said that no one can pay him back. Allah will pay him back for whatever he's done for me. He's done everything for the Prophet. How did Allah help? He helped with the bird, the pigeon, and the spider, the biting of the snake, and Abu Bakr and his virtues, and how he's the only Sahabi mentioned in the Quran that Allah refers to him as the companion of the Prophet. 𝗵صاحبه لا تحزن إن الله معنا. That's something, a lesson for us to take, that whenever we're going through something, don't worry, Allah is always with us. If you're on the haqq, if you're on the truth and the full world is against you, yes, don't worry, Allah will help you. Okay, Allah will always help you. If Allah is the one who helped Yunus alayhi salam in the stomach of the whale, Allah is the one who made the fire of the people of Iraq, those who threw Ibrahim alayhi into the fire. How did Allah save Ibrahim alayhi? Allah is always going to help you. Stay on the true path, Allah will help you, just like He helped Yusuf alayhi as well. And we also learn about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's family. Okay, Abdullah ibn Abu Bakr, he had the role of finding out the information or the Quraysh and everyone was speaking about, and he came and told his dad and Prophet Asma. She gave food. Even while she was heavily pregnant, she climbed a very high mountain. Amir ibn Fuhayra, he gave them milk and everything. And we learn about Suraqa, how later on when Suraqa became Muslim, he tried to obviously harm the person, but later on he became Muslim and he was given the bracelets of Kisra. And we learn about Ma'bad as well, how she was one of the few who described the Prophet in detail physically, and how her sheep started giving milk, okay, and her husband and she both of them, they accepted Islam. Now that brings us to the end of this lesson, inshallah. I hope it was beneficial for everyone. Now, next lesson, what we do is we're going to do a quick recap of his full life in Medina, in Makkah as a prophet. So from the age of 40 till the age of 53, we covered 5 hours. We're going to try to do a quick recap. So inshallah, when we do move on to the period of Medina, inshallah, everyone, you understand what has happened, inshallah. So for next lesson, we'll do a quick recap of the 5 lessons, and the following week, inshallah, we'll move on to how he was welcomed into Medina, how he lived there, how the Masjid al-Nabawi was built, and everything, inshallah. Until then, inshallah, I'll see you in the next lesson. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.